As things stand, Barcelona, one of the most successful teams in Spain and Europe, are in financial turmoil. For the past 18 months, major media outlets have discussed how things came to such a point. From paying over the odds for big-name players, to offering them lucrative deals and shifting away from utilising La Masia, there are a myriad of reasons why Barcelona are in this financial conundrum with no end in sight. How is it that a club that was dominating Spain and Europe became so broke? Common sense would suggest that every big team has a long-term project that is not superseded by a short-term goal. At Barcelona, though, things have been done through a more quick-fire approach, which we're going to discuss one by one in order to better understand the crisis in its entirety. Bartomeu's arrival and instant success. In January 2014, Josep Maria Bartomeu became the president of Barcelona following the resignation of Sandro Rosell. A few months later, Barcelona were crowned La Liga winners under Gerardo Tata Martino. It was a largely successful season for the Blaugrana, with the likes of Lionel Messi, Alexis Sanchez, Pedro, Neymar and Cesc Fabregas scoring a combined 109 goals. This was the same season where the club paid €57.1 million to complete the signing of Neymar. In some ways, it was the end of an era, with David Villa also leaving the club for Atletico Madrid, while Thiago Alcantara was sold to Bayern Munich. The 2014-15 season was going to be the most defining one in the club's history. Tata Martino left and was replaced by former player Luis Enrique. During the summer of 2014, the club sold Cesc Fabregas to Chelsea for €33 million, while long-term number one Victor Valdés left to sign for Manchester United once his contract expired. But, more notably, Carles Puyol decided to hang his boots, thus leaving a big hole in the heart of the defence. Looking to prepare for the next few years, the Catalan giants spent €165.25 million on the likes of Marc-Andre ter Stegen, Ivan Rakitic, Luis Suarez, Jeremy Mathieu, and Thomas Vermaelen. While Barcelona had never spent so much in the transfer markets of yesteryears, the moves made sense. The end also justified the means, with Enrique guiding the club to domestic and European glory. This was one of the most successful seasons in the club's history, with Barcelona becoming the first European team to twice win a European treble. The formidable trio of Messi, Neymar and Suarez plundered 122 goals across all competitions and staked their claim as the most lethal front three on the planet. Bartomeu was, at that time, the most beloved man in Catalonia. His ability to guide the club to so much success in his first full season was seen as a good omen. The 2015-16 season was therefore seen as a campaign of continued success. However, the Blaugrana would have to achieve all that without legendary midfielder Xavi, who moved to Al Sadd after the end of his contract. Overall, this season wasn't bad either, with Enrique helping his team to another La Liga crown, Copa del Rey, the Club World Cup and the UEFA Super Cup. Once again, Suarez, Messi and Neymar were on fire, scoring 59, 41 and 31 goals respectively. Rakitic had come into his own in the middle of the park, and things were looking good. Barcelona continued their rebuild in the summer of 2016, spending €122.75 million on the likes of Samuel Umtiti, Luca Digne, Andre Gomes, Paco Alcácer and Jasper Cillessen. The 2016-17 campaign wasn't necessarily a bad one, but standards had seemingly slipped, with the club winning the Copa del Rey and relinquishing their domestic crown to bitter rivals Real Madrid. Regardless of the lack of silverware, Messi, Suarez and Neymar continued scoring freely, while Arda Turan, who was signed the previous summer, also managed 13. The summer of 2017. The summer of 2017 was to be the defining period in the club's history and played a big part in where the club is right now. This was a time of questionable decisions at Camp Nou, as Bartomeu's desperation to enjoy short-term success would cost the club dearly in the coming years. First, it was the club's inability to hold on to Neymar, who had grown disillusioned with life at Camp Nou under Messi. The Brazilian craved the Ballon d'Or triumph, but felt that his chances of winning the award would increase if he moved to a different club. Paris Saint-Germain quickly acted on their interest and ended up meeting his €200 million release clause. The much valued and revered MSC frontline was torn apart, with Neymar signing a lucrative deal with the Liga 1 giants and became their poster boy. Panic set in once the Brazilian left, and the club needed to make a statement signing following the financial windfall received from the sale. The club ended up spending €323.8 million on new players in the transfer market, with €105 million paid for Ousmane Dembele and €30 million for Nelson Semedo. Dembele was expected to be a perfect replacement for Neymar, but unfortunately, the Frenchman was sidelined for 4 months following his La Liga debut. During the January transfer window, the club ended up signing Philippe Coutinho from Liverpool for €120 million, with the Brazilian expected to add much-needed creativity. Such unprecedented free spending meant that Barcelona had to end the season on a successful note. It did work somehow, with the club winning La Liga once again alongside the Copa del Rey. However, they were dumped out of the Champions League at the quarter-final stages, despite leading the first leg 4-1. Interestingly enough, the money Liverpool received for Coutinho was used to finance a move for Virgil van Dijk, who would guide his new team to the competition's final, which they lost to Real Madrid. The next summer, the club spent €108 million on the likes of Arthur, Clément Lenglet, Malcolm, Arturo Vidal, and Jean-Claire Todibo, while making decent profits on the sales of Luca Digne, Yerry Mina, Paco Alcácer, and Gerard Deulofeu. However, the money was clearly not spent wisely, with Clément Lenglet the only remaining player from the 2018 transfer window in the squad today. Barcelona did manage to retain their league crown, but they were embarrassed in the Champions League yet again, this time crashing out at the semi-final stage at the hands of eventual champions Liverpool, even though they won the first leg 3-0. Not happy with the squad, Bartomeu sanctioned the signing of long-term target Antoine Griezmann from Atletico Madrid for €120 million, while Ajax received €75 million for Frenkie de Jong. Coutinho, on the other hand, was sent on loan to Bayern Munich. Ernesto Valverde was already walking a tightrope and was replaced by Kike Setien mid-season. With the club not being able to call upon the services of strikers due to injury, Leganes man Martin Braithwaite was signed in what was a murky saga that played a big role in the Danes' former team getting relegated. As it turned out though, Barcelona did not even need the striker, since the pandemic postponed the season and Luis Suarez made a return to full fitness before football resumed. By the end of the campaign, Barcelona were given a lesson in humiliation by Bayern Munich in the Champions League, losing 8-2 on aggregate, with Coutinho rubbing further salt on their wounds by scoring a brace. A pandemic that compounds problems. With the pandemic wreaking havoc across several industries around the world, Barcelona were also expected to suffer. While Bartomeu's policy of signing big-name players in a callous fashion had already depleted their resources, The pandemic served to exacerbate their situation. Gate receipts represented a major chunk of the club's annual revenue, and broadcasters also decided to restructure the deal. Fully aware that the club cannot live wild and free during such times, a temporary 70% wage cut deal was confirmed. However, cutting wages was not going to be the conclusive answer. The club had to let go of some of its star players. It wasn't surprising to see the likes of Rafinha and Nelson Semedo leave. However, in what was a questionable move, Luis Suarez was sold to Atletico Madrid, and the Uruguayan would help Diego Simeone's side win the 2021 league title. The most peculiar deal, though, involved Juventus man Miralem Pjanic and Arthur Melo, with the latter going the other way. As it turned out, the deal was done to balance the books in order for the club to stay on the right side of UEFA financial fair play. With a loss of €481 million in the 2021 fiscal year, the Catalan giants were forced to reduce their payroll. The club's debt stood at €1.35 billion, and with Messi's contract expiring, there was always a chance that they could lose his services. Eventually, the 7-time Ballon d'Or winner was forced to leave Camp Nou and sign for PSG, while Antoine Griezmann returned to Atletico Madrid on loan. The cost of Bartomeu's reign. While we can say that Barcelona had a great start to life under Bartomeu, the honeymoon period lasted just a couple of years, and eventually the former president's ways caught up with him. In order to satisfy the club's ownership model and his position, which is determined by electoral campaigns, Bartomeu opted for short-term success. However, 34 players bought by him cost the club upward of €1 billion, which is a lot of money, even if you were to spend it in 7 years. Not only that, the club shifted away from its tried and tested policy of promoting academy players. Under Joan Laporta, several academy players have been promoted to the first team, with the likes of Gavi, Pedri, and Ansu Fati in particular promising a better future. We can see clearly that Laporta has a tough road ahead. To begin with, the club's wage bill has to be sorted out. Players who are tied to lucrative deals and offer nothing on the field need to be moved on. And then there's the issue of holding on to the emerging players who are catching the attention of the best teams in Europe. Off-the-field issues have to be addressed quickly, since they have finally started resonating in the team's performances, culminating in their elimination from the Champions League in the group stages. Only time will tell when, or even if, Barcelona will overcome their troubles and rise again to the top of world football.